Hey everyone, it is Michael White. I decided to. I've been collaborating with Ashley Marie, and we've been bouncing some ideas off of each other over the last 2 weeks, and we've decided to actually talk about some powerful conversations.
Yeah.
I'll let her talk a little bit, and then I'm going to jump into some things. But the floor is all yours. Go right ahead.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Well, I'm having you. We're meeting, in the middle. And I basically wanted to get on a live and talk about what, I guess, how important is masculinity? What is masculinity? But also give the audience an opportunity to hear from you about some of the things that we've shared, some of the things I've helped you with, even vice versa, because yeah, so we'll get into that. If you don't know me, I'm Ashley Marie. I'm a relationship coach for men. You can find, my YouTube channel on my bio and DM me. I'm here. I'm very down to earth, no pressure. We can have a conversation, and I offer an hour worth of advice for free. And then, if you want to work with me, we can talk about that. But so that's a little bit about me. Michael, feel free to introduce yourself.
Well, as you guys know, I had a podcast about dating and relationships content. I stepped away from it for a little bit to actually get a fresher perspective on some things. And it was because of Ashley Marie that I stepped out of it. And it wasn't until things became very clear to me that I actually have a lot to offer to the space, but I needed to step out of it to, being able to assess myself better to actually help people get the end results that they're looking for. So for me, that was very huge. I will say this though, where Ashley Marie helped me is clearing out all the muck, right? So within the dating coach area or just in this space, there's a lot of murkiness,
Mm,
right? And where she helped me, it was always about it's about what works. Let's not talk about theory. Let's not talk about your experiences. Let's
yeah.
not talk about how you feel. Let's get to the root of the problem and let's actually talk about what actually works.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so
So
for me,
yeah.
that was transformative, like dealing with her because she helped me see that a lot of the techniques or things that I was using because I don't like using the word simp. Personally, I don't. It's just that man just doesn't know who he is,
Mm, mm.
right? Because if we extract it, the man's a good man. It's just his behaviors need adjusting.
Yes. Yes, that's right. And yeah, no one is broken either. This concept that we all need to heal. We just need to change our perception, really.
Perception and behavior are
Yeah,
the
but that
key things.
obviously that generates a different behavior.
Yeah,
But I think a
exactly.
lot of us think like we're broken and there's no resolve for us. I'm too old. I mean, I speak to men that are in their 50s and up normally, around 40 to 45, but mostly 50 and up. And they are just like, I've already been married once. I'm done. But they don't think there's any resolve. They don't see any
Mm,
hope in the dating world either. So I really just bring it back to accountability. Hey,
yeah.
work on like your perception and then your behavior and everything else like literally just follows. You know?
Agreed. And I agree with you. And I think like even for myself, and again, I have no problem talking about this because me and Ashley have touched on this. Um, when I grew up without a father present, right? So a lot of my identity was wrapped around R&B music. I'm
Hmm.
like, this is how you're supposed to treat a woman.
Yeah.
So during my whole dating phases, that's what I was doing. The flowers, the dates, the listening on the phone for hours on end, doing all that stuff.
Mm,
But it never got me the outcomes I was looking for. Why? Because I was offering covering to women
mm,
that I didn't vet properly. That is the biggest mistake that a lot of men make
yeah.
is they just say, "Oh, she's so pretty," but you don't vet her to see if she's a good fit for your life.
Right. Right. Let me ask
So
you
when
this.
go ahead.
The question is, how important is masculinity? What do you think masculinity is?
Well, you see, for each man, it's going to be different. But I think me and you have talked about this. It doesn't matter what each person thinks. There's a baseline of it,
Mm,
right? So I think the baseline is a man being comfortable in himself, exerting his boundaries
mm,
with other people, with his girl, and also within himself. I would say the biggest thing of masculinity is restraint,
mm.
because a lot of people don't talk about that. You know what I mean? As men, what's huge when you hold your tongue, right? When you can still get your points across without having to be rude, vulgar,
Right,
and aggressive,
right, right.
right? When you can check people healthily, that's what I
Mm,
that is the borderline thing of masculinity. But it's also, I would also say, upping it up a notch is you feeling so confident in yourself, realizing that you're the shit. Now, some people might say that they're feeling it.
yes.
Some people might say, oh, you're not allowed to feel that way. But you know what? I'm going to distance the two. If you're doing the work, you're allowed to feel that way. If
Mm,
you're not doing the work, you can't be like, well, I'm the shit, but you're not motivated. You're not in the gym. You're not improving your life. No, you're not the shit. But if you're doing the work, you're the shit.
yeah, yeah. You
You
said
putting in
something.
the juice every day.
Yeah, I said something recently that kind of ruffled a little feathers. Basically, it was along the lines like, if women are chasing you and you're getting all this attention, you might as well wear a skirt. And I didn't mean anything around like you're like a basically, I didn't mean any disrespect, but basically I was saying that a lot of men don't like to pursue because of their own reasons. There's multiple ones that they make up. How do you think that ties into masculinity, the pursuit of a woman, and how should a man in today's age, pursue a woman with all of the things, all the new, all the things going on social media? So that's like a twofold question. Yeah.
Well, when a man, well, this is what I'm going to say is look at it like this. When a man knows who he is, he's savage. And when he sees a woman he wants, he goes after her. And she sees it too. Like, and not in a simp way,
Right.
but in a way where she wants to reciprocate.
Mm,
He literally just steps to her and says, look, I find you very attractive. You're a very beautiful looking woman. Here's my number. We're going out to dinner. He doesn't cut corners. He literally comes in and he just right to the point.
right.
And that's the thing. I would say that is it. But a lot of men are held back by it because they've tried to be that way
Hmm.
and it was rejected, which is fine. You find a woman who can receive that. So on to the next. But what a lot of guys are doing is because they've had those experiences, they let the experiences mold their masculinity. They say, oh, as you said, they dumb it
Oh
down.
my
They dumb it
God!
down. That's what they
Damn!
do. They'll dumb down their masculinity because they'll say, well, this girl wasn't receptive to how I approached it. It's not that your approach was wrong. You chose the wrong woman to do it with. Like, it's not that you chose the wrong woman. It's you have to find a woman who's receptive to that.
Right. Right. And I get what you mean by wrong woman. The woman that
Yeah,
doesn't love
like,
you back is the wrong woman. She might
yeah,
be
you're
right for
matching the
herself.
wrong woman. Like, if she's giving you the eyes, and like, let's say you're at the gym and she giving you the eyes, she looking at you all the time, like, and she giving you the eyes, shoot your shot, go for the kill. But that's the thing. Women feel energy, right? So
Yeah.
if you're coming over to her and you're like, I think you're so pretty, and she's gonna be like, oh damn, I got a dud. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
she gonna feel that.
Walk all over. So you said something key just now. You said they let their experiences shape their masculinity.
Oh.
Can you like dive into that a little bit deeper?
Well, a lot of guys have either been broken up with, um, and pretty much been manipulated, maybe been strung along, but like there are no victims, there's only participants, because if your discernment is very tight, those things don't happen to you. And if they do
Ooh,
happen to you, they're very minuscule because you're able to nip them like that,
right.
right?
It's
So
proactive, not
yeah,
reactive.
you're
Oh, that's
proactive. You nip it in the
good.
butt real fast, right? So
Yes.
that's what a lot of men have done. Like, let's say the woman that they've always want rejected them. right? Now they're like, my approach sucks. So now they put themselves in a shell like a turtle. They're like, okay, I can't, I'm just gonna stay here and everything is safe here.
Right.
Masculinity is not safe. Masculinity is brave. and
Oh,
and that's what a lot of people need to understand. It's not like, because when you retreat into yourself, now you're like this just little hermit turtle, and that's not masculinity. Masculinity is brave regardless,
regardless.
right?
Bottom line.
It's like when you know, when you go to war that you might die, you are like, yeah, I might die, but you're brave. You're like, no, I'm getting it done.
I'm going. I'm getting it done.
And that's it. That's what needs to be tapped into, because the absence of it is so dangerous. Everybody wants to talk about how toxic masculinity is, how bad it is, but we see what the world is like without it.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel like masculinity is primarily doing it no matter what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have posted many a times when men, multiple, would either come in my inbox as well and randomly debate, or they'll have something about how, but if these women were, women that are, naturally going to submit to you, then I would, lead. Or if, there's always an if.
They're in their feminine energy.
So they're in their feminine energy.
Because look, man, why you go and sit there and blame the woman? What you're initially saying is, I will be a man when she shows me she could submit. You're supposed to be a man, period. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Like if you're gonna be like, well, I will show her I'm the man when she submits. No, you're the man fucking regardless.
Right.
That's it.
Oh man. There's so many things that we chit chat about, like on a daily, if weekly, if not daily basis, about some of the things that you say, or just even break down in some of the videos that, you'll send or I'll send. Why don't we share the first video for our audience and then talk about that?
Sure. We know we're going to ruffle some feathers, but ruffling feathers is what we do. So we're going to get ready to share the first video, which I know is very powerful. I've listened to it multiple times. So we're going to share that video for you guys. Just give me a minute there. And I want you guys, when we share the video, I'm gonna give some points here before we share the video. Listen with your mind, man. Don't listen with your heart. Because if you listen with your heart, you're gonna be reactive. You're gonna get all up in your feelings. Actually take the time to genuinely listen to what they're saying. Yeah. Because that's the thing. If you're not listening to understand and you're listening to react, you're gonna miss the message. All right, so I'm gonna play the video for the audience, and then we'll break it down after.
Awesome.
Has been controlled so much. I know that women today argue that men should not tell them what to do with their bodies, and they shouldn't have any say on what women do. But the problem is that that's men protecting women. They kind of have to. And men, when I say men, I mean their father. This is why father is so important, of course. But women's sexuality is a problem because women are vulnerable. Women are weak. Women get abused. Women get confused. Women fall easily for many things that aren't real. And this is the reason why women's sexuality has been controlled throughout history. And it's been controlled so hard in the past that women, of course, have died for just being hoes. Women will get killed for being a hoe. But the reason is it needs to be controlled, because if it's not controlled, we get the situations that you guys are all talking about. She gave it up because she wants his attention. He don't like her later, and then he break up. Then she's damaged, and she goes to another man with the damaged goods, and then she continues the whole chain. You wouldn't have to deal with this if she was protected by her father. I think that this is why through history, women's sexuality has been controlled so much. I know that women today argue that men should not tell them what to do with their body.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Okay, so that's our first video.
Yes.
I want you to go first, and then I will add on to that because I
Yeah,
know that this is going to be sensitive for a lot of people. They're going to jump into their feelings.
yeah,
Please, you speak. I
definitely.
add.
I got you. So when I first saw this video, I was actually like, wow, like she has a point. Like there's actually truth in this. And a lot of us, women, with the aftermath of the feminist movement is like, dress how you want, expose yourself how you want, have sex with as many people as you want, with whoever you want, things of that nature. And I feel like we as women actually need men to tell us what's okay and what's not okay to do with our bodies. Now, hear me out. There's obviously men that have not stepped into their full masculinity. So women, they're going to be like, oh my God, but what about the men that, want to use us just for our bodies and things of that nature? That is not what I'm talking about. The majority of men, at least in the Black community, do not believe that you should use your body as a way or form of empowering yourself. They believe that you should use your mind and your character and the things that you do to serve and give back, as well as, personal development to feel empowered. And when women have the reins completely over themselves, they usually tend to live in a reality that blurs the lines. And that's why masculinity is important. And I was going to get to that because the title of the live is How Important Is Masculinity? It allows us to be grounded, and it actually gives us the direction that we need that we just don't have on our own. So when we're using our bodies as a form of empowerment or just, saying that we can dress however we feel, whatever, um, again, we don't have a good foundation or a good basis of reality. We are existing in like desire land, and
Hmm.
that's not sustainable long term. That also hurts us more than it helps us. And then we also are the ones to get pregnant. So, i.e., why a lot of the Black community has a lot more single moms than they do single dads. Like to every single dad, there's like it's like two single moms. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So there's more single moms than single dads, and we have to put a stop on things. And the only way that I feel that's going to happen is when men want to be men and they don't give a fuck what a woman has to say about it, and women understand how to be led. Sit the fuck down, know your place, shut up and learn. That's my take
I
on
love
that.
that you said that because you see, and again, this is where that line gets blurred. You mentioned men need to have control over these things. I'm going to add something. Masculine men need to have control over these
Yes,
things
yes, yes.
because, again, you do have some men who support that type of behavior.
Exactly.
That's the issue. You have men who support that type of behavior to say,
Yes.
well, she should show off her body. She should do all of this. And you know what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it loud. She likes that guy, but she doesn't want to fuck that guy.
Mm.
Because, again, he's just subjugating himself to her.
Mm.
That's what he's doing.
And I'll say this, if she does have sex with him, she in her mind has already like, I guess her standards already like she compromised those because
Oh, yeah. She definitely settled.
you know
She definitely settled for something less. And that is one of the other bigger issues because, again, a lot of the times where women will say, well, men shouldn't have control over this. But then when you get older, now you want the covering of a man. Make it make sense. You're not going to sit here and tell me, well, I don't want men to tell me what to do with my body. But then yet at the end of the day, when you get older, 40, 50, 60, you're like, man, I want the covering of a man.
right
After you just spent,
the world
yeah, after you just spent like 5 years bashing them.
yeah
Really? Make it make sense.
these women are 50 years old
That's what I'm saying. Make it make sense. Now, I understand that to some degree, nobody wants to be controlled. I get that, right? But you should have restraint from real masculine men. Because, and again, I'm going to touch on this very shortly now that the men who are very feminized are the ones who are overly emotional. They are the ones doing the abuse mentally and physically. It's these men because they haven't learned to tap into the masculinity. They've learned to tap into the feminine, but they haven't learned to tap into the other one. So then maybe your whole life you as a woman have dealt with very feminine men all the time. And then when you meet a masculine man, you're like, well, that's not how men are supposed to behave. Yes, they are, but you've been dealing with the wrong type of men.
So when you said something about abuse, you said, you know, when a man isn't in his masculinity, he's abusing a woman. Talk to me about that. Like, what do you mean?
Well, like we see it. They're overly emotional. They have no restraint. You know what I mean? They can't control themselves emotionally or physically. Like those are the men that have no self-mastery. I think as a masculine man, self-mastery is so key. Now, can you slip up? 100%. Yeah. Nobody's perfect, right? But it shouldn't be so egregious all the time where it's like, really?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, let's say you have the woman and she's dealing with a man or she likes the man, but like she doesn't like him in that way. He's become one of her girlfriends because he's so tapped in to the feminine that he's not tapped into how to build sexual attraction, but he's built into build connection. You know why? And I'm going to go back to what you said in the video about men listening to women, because women will tell men, hey, we want you to open up. Hey, we want you to be vulnerable. They take that advice, they run with it. They still don't get the girl. And then she runs off with the guy that does none of those things.
Yes. Yes.
So what are we going to believe? What you say or your actions?
Yes. Yes. And any man that is listening to a woman for direction, maybe she might be right once, but usually like her sense of the world is very warped and it's not skewed. Reality.
It's very skewed because if you have to ask a woman for direction in your life, you don't know who you are as a man, and you better go find that out, because the thing is, you won't get a wife.
Now,
you will not get a wife.
I will say that, you know, somebody listening in might say, oh, okay, well, he has a point. Listening to a woman for direction isn't the best bet. When it comes to me, however, a relationship coach for men, I'm never going to tell you to be a simp, rather, or not let your balls hang down. So that's the difference, because I'm going to say this. A part of my personal experience with my husband is that when he would do something that would be allowing my bullshit, I would even say in that moment, like, for instance, I used to be a little disrespectful. He was so used to women being so disrespectful that he was willing to put up with at least a little bit. Even in those moments, I was like, babe, like when we would play it back and just talk about our past, babe, remember when he was like, yeah, babe, it wasn't even a big deal because, you know, I love you. And I was like, ooh, no. It is a big deal. No level of disrespect is okay. And that's what happens. I have also like allowed him to fully embrace his masculinity because he's so used to pacifying women, especially Black women.
Well, let's touch on that before we go to the next video. A lot of men, that happens to them, right? Because they're so used to certain behaviors of the woman being disrespectful, rude, disagreeable, that he's like, it's part of the package. No, it's not part of the package.
It's not.
If she comes with that part of the package, you tell her no. And that's where a lot of guys, they can't say no. Right? Because they're like, oh my God, she's so pretty. She's so enamoring. She's so this. But how is she all those things if she doesn't have temperament, if she's not slow to anger? How is she a good woman if when you give her direction, she's resistant? How?
Imagine that, because I was thinking about that too. There was I think it was a Speed. I was watching like an oldie, and basically, the woman he was trying to save was like, at first, was like, "Why are you doing this?" And like asking all these questions. Sometimes when a woman is even going through that, you are putting, as a woman to a woman, listening in, you're putting yourself in danger, because instead of getting safe, you're worried about the mechanics or the what he's doing to make you safe. You know what I'm saying? And it totally like takes away not only his desire to want to protect and to serve, but it slows up the process. Bitch, if you don't sit down and shut the fuck up so I can get you the outcome already.
Well, that's the thing. And let's talk about it before we jump in the next video. It takes away his ability to lead. Because imagine if he's the captain of a ship and you're the co-captain and you're like, well, what if we go this way and that way and this and that? And he's going to sit there and look at you and say,
right,
who's driving the ship? You or me?
Yep.
That's all he's going to do is say, that's what a masculine, who's driving the ship?
Yeah.
Because if you're having to ask all these questions, and I'm going to drop this gem right the hell now, clearly you don't trust that man. Because I've seen women deal with a man and ask him no questions. Zero. You want to go to dinner here? No problem. You want this? No problem. No questions. Zero.
You know, and I'm going to say this. There's this underlying illusory superiority that I used to believe that I was better than men. Where do you think that comes from? I mean, maybe I can probably give you the background of like my growing up, but woman outside of me, where do you think that comes from, that thought that they're better than men?
A lot of the times I'm going to blame like multitude of things. Their friend circles, their parents. Let's say you've raised by single mom and she's had bad experiences with men. Now it gets chuckered on to you. A lot of women, it's social media. Those are big ones. We could sit here all day and point out shows that are like, well, women can do it too. Okay, well, you run into the burning building then.
Right. Literally, I was watching a couple of shit movies and shit shows where, these men are like out there in the thick of it, like doing their thing, and like women. I was thinking about my nails, and I was like, I could never do half the shit men do, and I have these, just like little. Oh, anyway.
Well, I always find it so humorous, and I'm sorry to cut you off. I find it so humorous that they're always like, men bad, men bad, men bad. But when something goes wrong, they want that man. So it's amazing that we live in countries that allow that freedom of expression so well. But then it's also so dangerous because it's like you're saying, well, we're just as good as men. Okay, imagine on a world where we say, you know what, none of the men are going to war, you're going. I bet you would shut up. I bet you would shut up then.
Facts. We wouldn't even win. I mean, I've even seen like those shows where you have to survive on an island. Yeah. And the woman groups and the guy groups completely fucking different.
It's completely different. And I'm telling you, like, this is what's so beautiful, because I'm sure you would hush. If they said, look, if you don't want to go to war, fine, but we need you to hush. They would right away, because they'll say, we don't want to do that. Right. And you know what? That's why we live in such a beautiful world, because we allow, like, men allow you to make all these grievances about men.
Yes, they afford us the freedom to sit here and complain. Because at any given moment, they could say, I'm shutting this shit down.
Yeah, we're shutting it down.
Even thinking about social media, who runs it? Men. They can say, oh, just whatever, for whatever reason.
It's funny that you brought that up, because I talked to someone about it, and they're like, men bad. And I said, okay, if men are so bad, a man is the one who started the OnlyFans platform that allows you to do what you're doing to make money to sell your body on the platform. So if a man didn't create OnlyFans, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Right. Where's your money coming from then? Your income stream is cut.
So you can't tell me how bad men are when they give you the platform, OnlyFans, to do that.
Damn, that's good. All right.
Like, make it make sense.
Let's hit them
Strip
with
club.
the next video. Oh my God,
Yeah.
that was such a good point.
Yeah, strip clubs, all these things that you guys
Right.
say
The
that are
infrastructure by which women have the employment that they have is usually from running by a man.
exact. Make it make sense. And again, before we queue up the next video, guys, you guys are like, oh, you guys are women bashing. No, it has nothing to do with that.
Oh, I thought they were commenting that they were that.
No. I always like to make that clear because people will take a message like this and say there's bashing. No, it's acknowledging behavior.
Yeah.
Please stop taking everything so damn personally and analyze behavior.
That's it. That's what we're talking about.
It's simple as that. So we're going to move on to the next video, which I love the video. It makes me laugh so much. But we're going to move on to the next video because I think this one, again, we're looking at behavior.
Yeah.
These days. So I've talked to a few guys in the last month who've said exactly the same thing. My girlfriend has a lot of anxiety. Surprise, surprise. And when I did this, she got upset and told me I was making her feel anxious and that she couldn't talk to me for a couple of weeks because she was upset. Or the girl I was seeing said I was moving too fast and now she feels anxious. And then all of a sudden she disappears because that's a valid reason why she should just disappear, because she feels a little bit of anxiety. Or I confronted my girlfriend because she cheated on me and she said that she had a lot of anxiety and that it was my fault for making her feel anxious and that's why she was on medication, and she completely diverts away from the fact that she was cheating to now she's got anxiety and it's a man's fault, and if only he'd been more kind and caring then she wouldn't have had to behave like that because he didn't make her feel safe and comfortable. And I start to see this familiar pattern where women will often say, I've got a lot of anxiety and I'm taking anti-anxiety medication like Klonopin or Xanax or something like that, and now they're behaving distant or they're withdrawn or they are promiscuous. And it all comes back to the fact that they say they've got anxiety, which is not true. If they do have anxiety, it's as a result of their shitty behavior, because they feel so bad about themselves and their behavior, and they know their behavior is bad and they've treated people badly, other men badly, that they feel anxious. And there's a reason why they feel anxious, but it's not because of men. It's because of their own behavior. It's because of their own thoughts. It's because of their actions. Women who have negative thoughts, bad thoughts, untrustworthy thoughts feel anxious because they don't trust the world and they don't trust themselves. And that creates anxiety. If a woman has good thoughts, she's loyal, she's trustworthy, she's caring, she's not sneaky or doing anything behind a man's back, then she will trust herself and she will trust the world and she will trust men and she won't feel anxiety.
That was so good.
Okay.
Wow.
Let's address this one.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and again, men do fall for the okie doke, right? They allow these type of behaviors to happen. Now, this is where I say where the masculinity is so important, because masculinity corrects, and within that correction, it diverts. So he will literally step in and say, like, because let's say, for example, it's better to use examples. She's in an anxiety mood.
Right.
I always like to look at it as a man calms the storm. That's what he does. Right. But if you're not a woman who's receptive to that and you want to have this fit, have your fit, but you don't get to have your men.
Michael, you be hitting them with the bar.
That's it. That's it. You want to have a fit, but you don't get to have your men.
That's good. Wait. Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
no,
I'd love to hear your
my computer was loading. So what this brings up to me is borderline personality disorder. And I struggled with that. And Jada Bell, Jada Bell podcast on Instagram, I did it 2 interviews.
Yeah.
And she really speaks on this because she has ebooks out on this. Her content is catered to this subject. And basically it's when women are different personalities given different circumstances because they've maybe gone through abandonment, neglect, things of that nature. And they've never also seen anyone regulate their emotions so that they can help them regulate theirs as a child. So I remember before meeting my husband, I was in and out of situationships galore. Like I was a serial dater and a serial situationship individual. And one of the things that I remember in dating was this guy I connected with online. Now he's a Scorpio, just like my husband. I'll never forget him. He was tall, really good looking guy. He had one son, I think around 13. And there was one time where he basically had said he would call me, but he didn't call me. And I didn't hear from him for like 5 hours. I went nuts. So I texted him like, I can't do this. You live in Washington, D.C. It's too much. Like, how can you not talk to me? Like,
Wow.
whatever. You know what he said to me? He was like, you're not emotionally mature enough to have a relationship with, let alone date. Oh my God, that hit me to the core. Because I was like, I fucked up a good one? Damn, like I missed out on that, So many times women are not realizing that they are fucking up a potentially great relationship that could be had. Because even in the dating stage, they have so many expectations around their anxiety, around their personality disorder, not around reality, not around what it would actually look like to partner with a man instead of trying to either coach him into his healing or expect him to be this unrealistic thing. And that was a huge lesson for me because I was like, damn, I missed out on a good, then is.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because usually women who are highly neurotic like that want you to serve their emotions. That's what they want, but they don't understand that masculinity is covering, right? But it's not subjugating to your feelings. That's the difference. He'll cover you. He'll protect you. He'll take care of you. He'll do what he needs to do, but he's not going to subjugate himself to your feelings. And this is why I always say that men, our job is to calm the storm. Right. And I love that because, again, like for those that know me, I'm a Christian. There's a story of Jesus in the boat when all the guys were freaking out. They're like, oh, my God, there's a storm. Jesus just said, halt. Storm stopped. That's how powerful men are.
Woo!
That's how powerful a man is. Like,
yes.
She just gave you an example. He just said like a few things like you're my, and she just, what?
Right.
Like, what? And even as a man, I've even realized that within my power of my words, that when my woman is acting a certain way, I can calm the storm and say, babe, I got you. And she'll just look at me like, he does got me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that is how powerful a man is. Because, again, women feel emotions 10 times higher than men do. You know what I mean? I doesn't call them their anxiety about it, or they slept with a guy and he never called back, or they feel like it in waves.
Right. And I do feel it in waves. I feel emotion so much that I'm so glad I have my husband. I would not be able to
because he provides structure.
Function. Yeah. I could not properly function on my day-to-day, even if I wasn't a mom, without my man.
Well, he provides that structure with because then your emotions don't go like this. Your emotions go like with structure, and he guides the emotions.
Also, he helps ground me into who I really am, not what my feelings are telling me. I think also, since I've been with him, my sense of like self-esteem has even gotten higher, like significantly in every way. And even with money, revenue flows, even with him. Like, it's just, for some odd reason, I also feel not odd reason, but for some reason, I feel like men know more about women than women know about women. So, like, in
Yeah,
essence,
well,
I'm
if a
like,
man knows himself, then yeah, he can
yes,
figure
yes,
out the woman, and
yes.
that's the powerful, because again, even with a lot of women, a lot of the times they don't like themselves, they don't like their bodies, they don't like this, they don't like that. But from a man that she loves and admires and respects, it's crazy, because when that man says, let's say she's like, oh, I'm fat, and that man's like, no, I love your body, your body's beautiful. And from
Literally
a man that she admires, respect, all that emotion of I don't like my body goes away.
goes away.
Because from the man that she loves and admires and respects, if he likes it and he enjoys it, then she's like, oh, I don't even care about that thought anymore.
Yeah, and there are some things that is true for me when it comes to my body and my image. I've still going through processing, reprogramming. I've hired a nutritionist, all this stuff. Long story short, I still have issues with like feeling beautiful in my own skin.
Mhm.
And when he's never said, oh, you should probably lose a few pounds, or like he doesn't give a fuck. Even, his last woman was like 100 something more pounds than me. So it's like he's not, but when when I finally realized that he actually really loved my body, it also helps me understand, oh, it's actually a me problem. It's not, oh, if I had this, oh, if I lost this amount of weight, I'd be beautiful, because it's a me problem. He allows it to like that masculinity allows the space by which a woman can reflect and self-reflect
Yeah.
instead of project.
And I agree with you. And that's what I mean. Women need to stop taking it so personally. Like if you have a man and he's like, babe, you put on a few pounds, but then he directs it and says, let's go to the gym together. Let's do this together. And he course correct. Don't take it personally.
Right.
He's trying to help you instead of hurt you.
And he said to me the other night, he was like, you have been eating a lot. You have been eating a lot. And I was like, also, I struggle with overeating. And he's like, don't even call it that anymore. Call it, you ate too much. And just even that was just like, oh, I could be like light. And it's different. So anyway, it's really important for me to say these things, because this topic is about how important is masculinity. It's so important. I'm experiencing the value of it every day.
And that's what's crazy, because this is what messes up the dating market and the world, because a lot of women haven't experienced masculinity. They've experienced the absence of it. So a lot of men that they've dated were either more in tune with their emotions and had no structure for masculine. And this is what I'm saying. Like, we're going to talk about this quickly before we get in the next video. Usually men, where there's an absence of masculinity, they're highly jealous, like highly, like there's healthy jealousy. And then there's like, neurotic, like highly bad jealousy. They're very controlling. Like control is great if he's like, babe, I don't want you to go like out and okay, but they're like they want to know everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Those are men that are not safe within themselves, and because they're not safe within themselves, they can't be safe with you. Right. So think about it. If the woman wants to feel safe, right? Because naturally the women are the weaker sex. Yeah. But if you're a man and you don't feel safe within you, how are you going to make her feel safe?
Facts. That's a truth. And I think it's a relationship. So it's a dance between knowing someone's weaknesses and their strengths and optimizing on opportunities. And I don't think women know what I call buy-ins. So I don't just blurge out anything that I think I want to talk about with my husband. I wait for the opportune time, because I think about he has maybe a stressful day. Maybe he has some burdens he's holding. Maybe he just wants to fucking relax.
I agree with you. And women don't consider that, because all they consider is their hyper feelings, but they don't consider maybe he had a rough day, maybe he went through this or whatever. They're just like, you'll walk through the door and they're just like, bleh! And you're like, yo, like what happened?
Right.
Like,
they don't even really care about men. A lot of women fake care. A lot of women fake care.
They do. They do.
I could go on and on about that, but yeah.
No, you know what? You're not wrong. And that's what a lot of men have experienced, is the fake care. But see, that's the thing. I think when you're very in tune with yourself and you're very in tune with your masculinity, you're able to identify it about the fake care because you look at her behavior and not her words.
Right. Right. And okay, Len, I love that. I love that you've also been holding like men accountable in this live. But I also want to say to add to that, is if she's fake caring, then there's a part of you that's not genuinely caring about yourself.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because we all have a soul where we know energy. Before we say a word, energy's felt. You get what I'm saying? And using that as your navigation system is the masculinity, where it's like, oh, wait, hold on. Like, you didn't just ask me how my day is. You just want to know what you could get. And not being okay with that and redirecting if you need to, if she doesn't change. But a lot of men settle for that. And so then they wonder, and then they play, you know, victim later on. But, you know, anyway.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And again, and that's what a lot of men go, because what a lot of men need to understand is your job is to understand yourself first, right? Look at a compass, right? A compass will spin like this, but your job as the man is to keep your compass like this. Let her compass do this, but when she's with you, her compass is straight. Yes. So when she goes like this and the compass is spinning, your job is to keep the compass straight. Now, again, can you identify fake care? Yes, but some women are really good at it.
Yeah.
But you should be able to identify very well outside of her looks if this woman genuinely cares about you. Because if she genuinely cares, you won't have to ask for certain things, right? Because I look at it as presence is key before we move on to the next video. When your presence is so enamoring as a man, you won't even have to ask her to see you. Just say, hey, what are you up to today? Can I see you? Because she is so drawn in.
I was all over my man today. Like, I was in the bathroom while he was brushing his hair, like sitting on the toilet. Like, what are you doing in here? Get out of here.
Yeah, because you're so drawn in by his masculinity and who he is.
Yeah.
That you're able to discern to say, this is real care and this is fake care.
Yeah, right, right.
Because,
yeah.
Go ahead. I will say this.
Go ahead.
If a woman genuinely cares about you, and I honestly hope who's ever listening writes this the F down, she wants to experience you. A woman who gives you fake care does not want to experience you.
Okay,
she'll take from you.
Tangibly experience him in what way?
So experiences you by being your presence, taking your direction, following your lead. And she can't get enough of being in your presence. So what I'm going to say to that is, with women, some women that I've gone on dates with, and they loved being in my presence. After the date, I said, when can I see you again? I'll get text messages. I was thinking about you like all day. You know what I mean? Like all of it. And it's consistent. It's not just like a one-off. It's like consistent. Like they'll talk to me till like 2 or 3 in the morning. They'll say, hey, are you up at like 2 in the morning? That's what I'm trying to say.
They'll stay up late even if their bedtime is 9:30. For you,
exactly.
You available? They could be up at 1 in the morning.
Yeah, because genuinely, she wants to experience you. Yeah. Because a lot of women, and this is where a lot of men sometimes fall into the trap, right? If a woman wants to experience you, she will go so far out of her element to do that. If you ask her, hey, it's 1 in the morning. Are you busy? She said, no. Can you come see me? She knows she has work in the morning, but experiencing you is so much higher than her being at work. It doesn't mean she's going to be late for work.
I will be in
my experience.
Coffee. Okay, you know, no matter what. But you know, also let me say this. Somebody once said, if a man needs you, he will bleed you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh.
That's true.
You know,
he will lead you if you want to be led, but that's the thing. When she has that high level of attraction for you and she craves your masculinity, you could lead her to the heavens and she will say yes. She won't say, well, where is it? Where are we go? She will say, take me to heaven.
Yes. Okay. Well, with that one, let's get to the next video, y'all.
Okay, let's get to the next video, y'all. We're just kind of like dropping crazy gems on you guys. You guys are like brain spinning. This one, you guys are going to love this one because it touched on what we talked about here, but you guys are really going to enjoy the next video.
your wife's bad thinking, for her emotional immaturity, for her need to get her needs met outside of God and you. It was Adam who sinned when he listened to the serpent tempt Eve and said nothing. You can't go, well, I just married an emotional woman, or well, I just married an immature woman. No. God's going to hold you responsible for your wife's health. It's not enough to sit back and shell out money for food, house, clothes, and therapy. You need to step into your God-given role. It doesn't count to be like, what do I do? Men, you're not victims. God's given you power. Exercise it. The first sin of the garden was the acquiescence and the abdication of headship, authority, and power. Masculine authority and power in the face of evil that was tempting his wife, and he just went along. Guys, it's not enough to be nice. You got to have backbone to be a head. And God will hold you accountable for your wife's bad thinking, for her.
Ooh.
So fucking good. Oh my God.
So I love what he said there, because a lot of men will pass the buck. That's what they're doing. They're like, oh, it's her fault that she's emotional. You're the head. You are the head. You give direction. And this is why I said it's so important to deal with a woman that even when she's angry, she can still take direction.
Now, a man might say, he's looking at this video and he says, well, she doesn't take my direction. Let's talk about married men, because I have some of them in my inbox as well. Okay. They've married what I like to call frat wives. And marriage is a different commitment. You can't just, say, oh, F her, you know what I mean? I don't want to, What would you say to a married man that is dealing with the woman that doesn't respect him or accepts his direction?
Okay. I would tell that married man is to figure out why she's resistant. Is he not leading his role? Because again, you see in the video what the guy said, every time the guy will pass the buck, it's her fault that she's emotional. But maybe as the man, because it's always going to fall on us, we're the leaders, right? So maybe you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing as a man. And that's causing her to be that way.
Okay, now I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Sure.
He took a little bit of my advice and started to do things differently, but he's still not getting the results that he wants from her. Do you advocate for, I guess, marriage counseling, or what does he do?
So I always look at it before it goes to counseling a lot of times is to get understanding. Because a lot of the times, if you really dig deep and peel back with a woman, she will tell you why she's behaving the way she's behaving. She will. If you actually sit down with her and say, babe, look, if you bring that masculine presence, she's literally gonna melt into a little girl and say it's just been this. And she'll give you direct answers. And she will melt into that little girl. So your job as the head of the household is to get her back to that little girl that she wants to be, right? But you got to figure out, you have to sit down, because a lot of men, and I'm going to be honest, are afraid to have the conversation. They are, because they're going to get a barrage of emotions. They're going to get all this, and they're afraid they'll just walk out the door, they'll go sit in the car, they'll go hanging at the bar. And it's like, no, you're the head. The head doesn't.
Let me ask you this. How do you encourage a man to have courage to do that?
To encourage a man, I would tell him, even though it's hard, you have to do it.
That's it.
There
is nothing else. You need to do it regardless.
A long laundry list of tools, and
right.
You have to do it. No matter how uncomfortable it is. And that's the thing. I'm going to say something powerful too. Masculinity thrives in uncomfortability.
Wow. Okay.
Masculinity thrives in uncomfortability.
Wow.
And people are like, well, what do you mean by that? Think about it. If you guys have ever watched Roman history, they would send the boys out at 12 years old. You don't think those boys were uncomfortable out in the woods? No food, no nothing? They were uncomfortable as hell, but they knew that they had a mission and purpose to go and hunt the lion. They said whoever comes back with the line, that man is considered a man. Now, it was uncomfortable for the boys to be out in that wilderness. They don't have the covering of their parents. They're out there with other boys. They're like, we got to fight to survive here. Masculinity thrives in uncomfortability. If you want to be uncomfortable, if you want to be comfortable all the time, you're not going to win.
Now, I'll ask you this question. Where do you feel like grace? Where do you feel like you give a man grace in that? Do you give him grace? Should you be giving him grace?
Yes. Now, I'm going to say the reason for grace is because a lot of men have a hard time being who they are. So I'm going to give you grace, and I'm going to turn the dial like on a laundry machine, and we're going to turn it up slowly. Because as I said, a lot of men, they want to be that guy. They want to be. They just don't know how the world and how his woman's going to react to it. But I can promise you, when you turn the dial of masculinity up, what goes wrong when you turn masculinity up? The wrong things fall away. The wrong woman falls away. Everything falls away because you've turned up to who you are. So if you're dating a woman and she's not that type of thing, she's going to fall away. She's either going to get in line or fall away.
Okay. So one of the things my therapist had said was the hardest thing in a relationship is being who you are, and something about attachment, like being able to also attach in a positive, healthy way.
Yeah.
So I know an Army veteran. He's been married 4 times now. Okay. No kids, but he's been married 4 times. And he's married a brat wife. And I remember when God called him and challenged him to be masculine, he feared so much having a divorce, the 4th one, that he was like, can't do it. And he dialed down in his simbish, you know.
Yeah, he submitted. So you said he was an Army vet, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to say is this, and I'm going to turn the dial up again. A lot of guys are trying to get masculinity. Masculinity is not something you get. It's something you build.
Ooh!
So a lot of guys are trying to get it. They're like, I need to get masculinity. You don't get it. It's something you build.
It's something
you build from uncomfortability through trials and errors. So he knows, this Army vet, he knows what uncomfortability is like because he's an Army vet, right? So it's being able to have that with his trad wife, because a thing is, what a lot of people don't understand is usually when you turn up masculinity, femininity also goes up, because it's absence of femininity where you get all the disagreeable behaviors, the resentment, the pushback, all of that. Because the thing is, women, when they feel masculinity, they're not going to combat it with resistance. Right. They're just going to fall into like themselves.
I'll even say this, even if they don't necessarily submit and surrender to you and they leave, they're submitting and surrendering anyway, because the masculinity just got turned up and they can't function in the same.
They can't function.
Wow.
Because all they're going to do is say yes.
And you know what I love about that? I'm sorry, I wanted to say, when he turns up his masculinity, he's left with a version of himself, regardless of if she's fucking here or not, that he fucking respects and loves.
Yeah. Because how many times have we seen where men have turned up the masculinity to like 10, and let's say the woman's being disagreeable, she's being resistant, all those things, and he turns up the masculinity just by even saying, as you said, a sentence or two, or like, you're on my boat, whatever.
Yes.
The response is very simple. Yes, daddy. No combating. No nothing.
Listen, I hear that.
Because at the end of the day, and it's not a tactic, it's just at the end of the day, when a man's masculine up to 10 and he stays at 10, there's this underlying fear that women have with their emotions to lose the absence of masculinity.
Yes!
They crave it, they desire it, they don't want to lose it.
No.
So
being like in our prize, like, oh my gosh, like
Exactly. So they will take all of the behaviors away that,
Yep.
what can I say?
Yep, that would
Complement
threaten.
masculinity.
Yeah.
So let's turning your masculinity up to 10. She knows in her mind that resistance, masculinity doesn't like that.
Right.
So she'll say, okay, it doesn't work.
You know what? I like that, Michael. Instead of saying he doesn't like that, masculinity doesn't like that.
Masculinity doesn't like that.
The man out of the whole thing about control. I like that.
Yeah, masculinity doesn't like that. Yeah, masculinity doesn't like that, because what masculinity will do, it will give you pushback.
Oh, I'm gonna take that for myself. That is so good.
That's what it is. True masculinity. I'm not talking about a man yelling and screaming at you or whatever, but masculinity doesn't like pushback, but it's healthy, because if he tells you, babe, and I'm not saying like, babe, you're being over emotional, but it's very simple. Babe, like, let's say she comes and she's had an erotic day and she's coming at you with all of, oh, Janice did this and this person did that. And he says, babe, I need you to stop. I need you to come here and I need you to let me hold you. Boom. Everything melts away because she's being embraced by masculinity.
Yes.
Everything. She's like, who's Janice from work? She's forgotten about everything.
I have one even better. Like, come suck this dick and shit.
Because all she cares about is being embraced by masculinity in that moment.
Yes. It's the best.
And you know how I know it's true? Because women live for the moment, men plan for the future. Because at the end of the day, why do you think sometimes a woman will always say, you're making me feel this way? An experience right now could not even be true. She could say, oh, you make me mad, but you didn't do anything, because they crave experiences and they're deep down craving masculinity.
That's so good, Michael. Oh my God. All right, let's hit this audience with the next video. We might have to make this a 2-hour run, y'all, because this conversation.
Well, it's not even a video. This one, guys, is a post from one of our friends.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of ours. We're definitely gonna give him a shout out.
Oh yeah.
Because what he talks about in his stuff is fantastic.
So much so we have to showcase it today.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull it up for you guys, because again, I think this is an amazing point, and I get tired of hearing this too. What people quote unquote this fair bull BS.
Yeah.
So we're gonna cover that, and this is just a post. We got, like, me and Ashley can go bar to bar, but we're gonna share this with you right now.
Okay.
So hopefully you guys can see the screen. Sorry, I'm getting some messages there. But hopefully y'all can see the screen. And we're gonna go ahead.
Well, I would say X out your messenger.
Yeah, I gotta close that up. Yeah. There we go.
Okay.
So yeah, let me stop sharing, and then we go share it again.
Okay.
And then you guys are going to be in for a thrill ride with this one. Okay, I gotta close my messenger. Hang on.
That's all right. I could share it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hold on. Let me pull up. Okay, it says dominant men don't give a fuck about fairness. If your man is constantly talking about fairness all the time, you're dating a woman. Run, delete button, top left. Sorry about the beeping if you can hear that in the background. But basically, that's super key. And I was like, I have to talk about it with Michael, because
go ahead.
A lot of men love to complain about fairness.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do.
And we're not equal. Men and women are not equal. So I don't know why.
We're equal as in value as human beings, but equal in
terms of that, right?
Yeah.
Outside of being a human being, we are not equal in terms of the way we relate to the world. Important. I'm gonna be honest. Important, yes. We're not equal. Okay.
Agreed.
In terms of authority, power, control, infrastructure, community, so much. We're just different. So I don't know. I guess I wanted to really share that because I want to encourage men, that first of all, when you look at my content, just know that I also hold men accountable too, right?
Agreed. She does. She does, guys.
Yes. And I also do it hopefully in a way that communicates that I actually hold you guys at a high standard, not an unrealistic one, but you are headship. You're built with it.
Mhm.
You're a man, you're a man, you're a man every single second of your life. And until you embody, I don't care about what the obstacle is, I'm still going to get the outcome, then you're not a dominant man.
So,
And that's all I wanted to
and,
say.
and you know what? I want to expand on this because men will say, well, it's not fair. Life's not fair. But I'm going to tell you something. Masculinity isn't about fair. Masculinity is about doing. So you're not going to sit here and tell me how unfair life is and how you've been throwing a bunch of bad curveballs when even in the video that we sent, the video before this one, you're the headship, not only in your relationship, but in life. You are a man. Headship. It comes with the thing. It builds your character. So if you're sitting there literally talking about, well, this is not fair, then do the work and change the dynamic.
Period.
You're not going to sit here and tell me that life's not fair, that guys who are very good looking get the women when you're not doing the work. You're not going to sit here and tell me, well, like, I have a hard time finding a job. Keep looking.
Or redirect.
Or redirect.
Away.
You're not going to sit here and tell me that you put it this way. And again, it vexes me so much. Masculinity is always about performance. If you don't want to perform, sit on the bench. But don't complain about sitting on the bench.
Damn.
Sit on the bench.
Wow, that's good.
Because think about it.
Good. Wow.
The people, put it this way, the people that get to eat are the ones who hunted. Why should you get to eat if you didn't hunt? If you didn't do any work.
Or you went out, but you didn't actually achieve the outcome you wanted. And because the obstacles were too hard, you would have come crying home that, oh, wow, I can't get it. I get that. Now, I wanted to also say, do you feel like women feel that they're better men than men are because Black women have this idea around, I'm gonna get shit done anyway?
Yeah. But you know what? At what cost? At what cost? Because nobody's saying that women can't do it. They can do it, but at what cost? At the cost of your femininity. Because then when you meet a masculine man and you're a masculine woman, I'm sorry, y'all gonna do this.
Okay, so with that, she's used to getting it done, the outcomes, outcome focus, not process focus, which is the feminine energy. How do you think a woman should shift? How do you feel like she naturally shifts into more of her feminine energy? I know it obviously starts with emotional regulation.
Yeah,
but
she needs
after
emotional
that,
regulation.
in terms of with somebody, after she's done her own, healing, how does she shift from being this very independent woman to now allowing a man to do it in essence for her, or something?
It's not even about let a man, because everyone's like, let him do what? He's a man. He's a masculine man. You're not going to let him. It's either you're going to surrender or you're not. You know what I mean? Because everyone says, well, let him. I'm gonna let him. You're either feminine or you're not. Because now if you're letting him, you're saying, well, I'm giving permission to masculinity. When masculinity shows up at your door, you either open it or you walk away.
Well,
that's it. What is this let? Let them. Let them what? You're either going to receive it or you're not. So definitely shout out to the intellectual sniper for posting that.
Yes, sniper. I wish I had
And he never misses in his content.
Never.
So
never. In fact, he's somebody that I feel safe looking at his content and learning and listening.
You know what? But that's what he offers as a masculine man. He offers safety through his content. Now, do some men get offended? Yeah, I read the comments. Some men are like, well, you're wrong and you don't understand and blah, 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 and you don't understand. Understand what? What is there to understand? Change your blueprint, bro. Right. What is there to understand? Right? Because we live in a world now where a lot of those things now are so welcomed, where it's like we have to listen to people complain. No, we don't. As I said, you either play the game or sit on the bench.
Damn.
Because we're not going to sit here and argue. Because we're not going to sit here and argue with you. It's either like people receive your message or you keep it moving.
Yeah, you told me that. Because I was also struggling with these modern men that like to come on my page and argue the exception, but don't know how to play by the rules. And there are rules to dating, relationships, connection, intimacy, sex, vetting, how to do anything in life. There's strategy, there's rules that if you play, you can start changing some of them.
Exactly.
Maybe you can the exception.
Because everyone wants outcomes, right? Like everyone wants outcomes, right? But if you're not retuning and strategizing yourself, you don't get the best outcomes. And then you can't complain when you haven't made adjustments.
And they think they have by talking. But masculinity is what again?
It does.
It does. Okay. You don't talk. Ooh, okay.
It does.
Oh my God. How important is masculinity? I think we have now gotten to a great answer. Very.
It is.
Very important. What how many videos? We have 2 more? Oh, we have another
we got a couple more. So we have another post.
Okay.
And then I think like 2 more videos.
2 more videos? Okay.
Or 3 more videos, yeah, because you added, yeah. So yeah.
Okay. All right, let's play the next clip or post.
So now we literally have another post by
okay, that's my post. Okay.
By our friend the sniper.
Shout out.
So we're gonna get that one ready for you.
So this is my post, y'all. So it basically says, if she turns off by your direction, she won't be turned on by your erection. She's backing it.
Yeah.
And basically, I wanted to expound on that because I just did a live video on it. But I was like, you know what? Let me do a little conversation and have a conversation with you. First of all, what do you think about that post?
I think it's pretty straightforward because honestly, if she's not turned on by your direction, don't try to convince her to find another woman. It's not that complex. Like, why are we going to sit here because that's the thing. If masculinity doesn't compromise and it's strong and it's direct, why are you going to sit here and try to get her to like your direction when she's literally showing that I don't really like your direction? Okay, yeah, no problem. Cool. On to the next one. Another woman.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you feel, because I did a live about it, and I basically said, if a man is having sex with a woman that doesn't respect him, he doesn't respect himself much.
Ooh, I don't think I saw that. Okay, let's talk about that.
So I didn't post about it, but I did a live video. Oh my God, I'm like looking at something on my leg, and I'm like, anyway. But basically, I talked a little bit about it because I was talking to someone in my inbox. We had almost an hour long conversation because, I offered that free advice. And then I offer that, the program that I have. But basically, I listened to him and he was, talking about how he's in a very toxic relationship with a woman and how, the sex though is like bomb for him in his eyes, right? And really made me think about a lot of things, like a multitude of things. First and foremost, my question to you, if a man is having sex with a woman that doesn't respect his direction, do you feel like he has self-respect? Or do you feel like a man can still have sex with just anybody, even if she doesn't respect him? It's not a biggie.
No, it would be detrimental to his masculinity to have sex with a woman who doesn't respect him. It would be very disrespectful
it's
to it,
basically
because
saying
then,
like, all money is not good money. All pussy is not good pussy.
well, that too, but it's also understanding that again, if you're having sex with her and she doesn't respect you, that means she doesn't want to be embraced by your masculinity. So there's a disconnect there. Like, you're getting the sex, but you're not getting like she's like, oh my God, like this guy is amazing. She's just bang, boom, bang. And then, you know what I mean? Because I've talked to a lot of women, and a lot of women have told me they've literally had to trick themselves in their brain to have sex with the guy. So imagine that.
I'm not gonna I'm like, wait, let me look at my track record.
Yeah, like, no, literally, like, no joke. Like, they either, let's say the guy stopped being the guy that she fell in love with, or she's kind of exiting the relationship, but like she hasn't figured out how yet. She'll still sleep with the guy, but like she's literally having to like come up with excuses to not sleep with him. So this is why the respect is important.
You know what? This is interesting because there's another married guy that talked to me about how his wife doesn't initiate and how she's not really like into him in that way. You know, they have sex, but you know, it's like, so, and you know what? She's a brat wife. She does not respect him.
See, I don't call that sex. I call that just passing time. Like, literally, that's what y'all do. It's like, y'all pass the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, femininity, as we talked about, wants to be embraced by masculinity, right? But that's the thing. If she has to trick herself to have sex with you, then it's not a true, genuine interaction.
It isn't.
Because think about it. Like, as I said, I've had conversations with women and they're like, yeah, like I don't really love my husband anymore. And anytime he wants to have sex, I'm tired of this, I'm that. Or like she literally has to like trick herself, like, fine.
Yeah, and you know, she is faking it. She's faking pleasure, especially a woman that's making a lot of noise and she's loud. Like,
so then she's faking it. But then also look at this then too. If she has to trick herself into doing that, she's disconnected from her femininity as well. There's not only disconnected from on his end, on his masculinity, she's disconnected from her femininity because she's sleeping with a man that she doesn't respect.
That's good, Michael. That's really good. Oh, did I fuck up my hair? No,
So,
that's oh my God, that's so good and so on point. Okay, let's get to the next video.
okay. Ooh, okay, yeah, this one's gonna be fun for the audience. And I know it's gonna piss some people off, but you know what? It's totally fine.
Let it.
Tell him when someone's coming over. He does have a time limit. We got to wrap this up at 9 o'clock. Like,
Ooh.
everyone's out. I had to beg him to have like a holiday party or something at our house, and he had to know who was coming and when it's time for them to be out. And I remember I wanted to fight that so bad. And I was like, you know what? No, this is his house. He pays these bills. I used to be embarrassed when people would see, or like friends would come over, or we'd be around each other and they would see that he was pretty like, he laid out the rules. And I was like, oh, this looks embarrassing because he looks a little like this could be controlling or whatever. I know I cannot be controlled. I know that about me, but I respect his rules. Allow your man to have his rules. That's very manly. Obey them. Be quiet. Be quiet and obey those rules.
Yeah. Wow. Do you hear, y'all?
It's attractive, and you can choose to see it that way. Like, yeah, he does have his rules. Be out by 9. See ya. That's cute. I like.
Love it. First of all, thank you so much, Jada Bell. Thank you to her sister. Oh my God. Michael, are you with us? You're a little frozen. Okay, there you go. There you go. You were a little frozen. You with us?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. That was powerful. And you see, she said, let him have his roles.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's talk about it. A
Let's-
lot of times women want to come in and change the roles. But if you're doing that with a man, you don't have a masculine man, you have a girlfriend.
Yes. Yes.
And you don't respect him. So a lot of times women will say they want to date those men, but I'm actually going to turn it up a little bit. You don't stay with them because you think you like it. And then when you get it, you don't stay.
Right. Or in some form or fashion, y'all just don't work out. Meaning like maybe he just wants to like, I don't know, go out and cheat. And she said in her other videos, the sister that was talking, she said every other relationship before this one, she was cheated on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like women are trying to make men a woman. They're not.
Yeah.
They have a different love language, a different way of processing, a different understanding of how they should be in a relationship. And I don't think women take the time out to truly understand that, or men, or their language, and cater to that. They're in essence trying to change him. And that's actually the video I want you to share. I don't know if it's next, but basically where she's sitting down talking to, her man, I think that's her man. And basically is like, why don't you talk to your guy friends about like deeper things and like go deep?
Oh, that's the last video we
have. Let me tell
Yeah,
you something. I don't talk deep in terms of my man's feelings. We're not sitting on a couch. I'm not your therapist. A woman will get detested after a while because they're like, you can't just deal with it yourself. Aren't you a man? That's going to happen even if it's not up front. When a woman is doing the whole, oh, he has to change, he has to heal, his rules aren't good, this and this he needs to work on. She has what I call a project. She does not.
Yeah, she got a project, dude.
She has a project. She does not have a man. And until a woman stops making a man their project to fucking fix or change, oh my God, they will be miserable until they stop that. I was talking to my grandmother the other night about my grandpa, and he was a womanizer. His dad was a womanizer. My grandma then says to me, well, because, me and her haven't ever had this talk. And I was like, why did you choose him? And then, because she also told me she chose womanizers after him. Not too many men she's had. She's a Southern belle. But the men that she has had, they're all womanizers. So she goes, I go, why did you choose? She goes, because I thought I could change them. And I was like, oh, that's big. Because I feel like women have these egos about how they're like, I don't know, in some way, if they can change this womanizer, that gives them fucking kudos.
You know what's crazy about that? And it's messed up too, because a lot of women will build a boo and then you end up boo-less because he ends up leaving you for another woman.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You built him up and that's great, but then he ends up leaving you for another woman. And I'm actually going to touch on something that she said in the video.
Yes.
It's sexy when a man has rules, right? When he has those boundaries and he has that structure.
Let's talk about it.
Of course, think about it. If that man doesn't have boundaries and structure, right? You're going to feel more of his feminine energy. And of course, you're not going to want to have sex with him.
Or you're going to have sex with him, but you're faking it usually.
Yeah, you're faking it because now it's just feminine energy on feminine energy. There's no masculine energy complementing the situation.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And a lot of women, and this is what I don't like, because a lot of women will say, oh, I don't like it. I don't like that all these rules, but secretly you do. Secretly you do. And this is why men are told not to listen to women, because they'll say, well, I don't want you to tell me what to do, and I don't want you to tell me this, but secretly you like it because all the guys that you dated before that told you what to do, and you said, yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's good. I want to also talk about that too. I don't encourage men to listen to what a woman wants in order to make her happy and then have a relationship where y'all are happy. No. You set the tone and standard. You're the destination. You're the country. Your rules are the ones that I help empower men to actually incorporate, cultivate, whatever, distribute, not hers. You get what I'm saying? Because when things are the opposite way, you see what we see today. And it's just a whole bunch of mess.
And you see what? This is where I'm going to shatter a lot of women's reality. Steve Harvey lied to you guys.
Yes.
He lied to you guys to sell you a dream. Because you know what's funny? If you look at, I think it was the third video we talked about. Women are very impressionable. So a lot of these guys know that. That's why they'll sell you a dream. And you will believe it. You'll believe it. Because let's be honest. Let's look at the root of it. And we'll touch on this quickly and then we'll do the last video. Steve Harvey wrote a book called Think Like a Man. Okay, think like a man, you won't get a man. Like, that should have been the name of the book.
Right.
That should have been the name of the book.
Why are you thinking like a man? Don't think like a man, because that's not how you think. Think like a woman.
Exactly, because you won't get a man because he's gonna be like, I don't date dudes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not good information. And he sold y'all a dream. And that video, the third one, proved that women will eat it up if they don't have proper covering from a good masculine man.
True.
They can get indoctrinated like that.
Let me tell you, who is usually funding places that want to indoctrinate, which is not a negative, if they're, indoctrinating positive information, but it's women are funding places like churches. Women are funding podcasts like fucking Yada Awakening, and who's usually going to Steve Harvey shows?
Women.
Primarily. Women.
You know what's funny? We talked about this because I think there was a video that we saw where it was like, most of the men don't go to those speed dating things. It's mostly women.
They don't. And men, like, they're not the ones susceptible to all types of, in the same kind of way. They're just not. But see, that's why you need that masculinity, because if it's not there, that man will encourage you to go to those things. Oh, let's go to a Steve Harvey show. He'll encourage that stuff and saying, no, I'm the shield here. I need to guard you from this. Yes. Now, what do you think about binary? Because I feel like, before we get to the last video, binary of things like dark and light, fucking woman and man, like binary, right? Do you feel like that's also an essence of masculinity, where they are binary and they don't blur lines, where things are this and that? It's either or. Does that make sense?
No, I believe in black and white. Again, because it's simple.
Yep.
When we start clouding things up, that is not masculinity.
No, it is.
It is not. That's an absence of it. Now, again, I'm not a political man, but I would say that Donald Trump exudes a lot of masculine energy.
Oh, fucking yeah! I'd be like, I'm a Trumpster!
And it pisses people off. And then they'll turn around and say, well, it's toxic, it's this, it's that. No, I fucking
love Trump for that shit. I love his binary views and actions.
No, the thing is with him, he doesn't dabble in gray, because people will say, well, life's not always black and white, you know. Yes, it is.
It is.
Yes, it is.
It is. Reality is black and white. Anything outside of that, where you living in your ideas and your whatever, that's where it's blurred. But reality,
because you know what? And again, explain it to me. And I always ask people to explain it to me, because I said, as soon as Donald Trump got into office, look at all the documents, papers, and stuff that he got done within 24 hours. 24. That's masculinity.
Yes.
He got a bunch of stuff done in 24 hours compared to the previous guy that got nothing done in 5 years. Explain it to me.
Exactly.
Explain it to me. And nobody can. Well, this was complicated. No, it wasn't. If the next guy could come in and do that within 24 hours, it wasn't complicated.
It wasn't. And the next guy, got to remember, is still a white man. It wasn't even differences in terms
It
of
wasn't
that.
differences. He got it done.
Got it fucking done. I love it.
So that's always my thing is when people always make these, well, let's dabble in the gray and we're gonna sit in the gray for a long damn time.
Right. When is it gonna be time when somebody make a choice?
Because honestly, if you want to go there, let's go there. The previous president, we sat in gray for 5 years. That's what we're doing. We're just sitting there doing what?
And previous presidents before that, sitting in the gray area is something that I used to do comfortably. So I'd be in my like, oh, let's accept everything, and it's like everything is allowed. I'm like, I get that, but there's a place and a time for grace and acceptance of everybody, even everybody's fucking bullshit. There's a time and place for that. When it comes to outcomes, no. You want an outcome, you make a fucking choice, either this or that. That's it.
And that's what I'm going to say, because think about this too. And I always say this, and it's crazy because women get in their heads about multiple things. But I said, there's always a level of clarity. And I said, you know why? Because when masculinity is present, and I've noticed this with certain women, because they'll tell me, if this guy was to ask me to marry him, I'd say yes. So you guys have only been dating 5-6 months, but I would say yes to him. Why? Because there's a presence of masculinity. It's there. She's not like, oh my God, I don't know if I would. I have to think about it. I'm not too sure. Then he's probably not the guy. But if he's a guy that you're like, yo, I'd marry him tomorrow if I could.
Yeah.
Why? We're not looking at the man. We're looking at the presence of masculinity.
Right. So good. Ah, that's so good, Michael. All right. Let's give these
we have our last video that we're going to queue up for you guys. And then we're going to end up with our ending points. And then that should be it, guys. Okay, so let's go.
It's because they're not asking follow-up questions. They're not saying, hey, bro, you good? Like, let's talk about it. Like, let's dissect this. Like, they're not doing that. So, of course, that's more fun to you because you don't have to actually deal with any of the stuff that you are struggling with. You're running. You're a runner. You're a track star. That's what you're doing. You just want to run away when it gets hard.
It's not that our boys don't ask follow-up questions, per se. I think it's that our boys don't judge us for what we bring to them. Right? Or take it personal, what we bring to them. I think oftentimes women in relationships forget who the man is that is talking to them when we bring up these grievances, right? So if I bring up, hypothetically speaking, if I bring up a grievance in which you're the culprit, most women are going to take that personal and they're going to get very, very, very defensive.
Maybe.
You understand? Instead of understanding the source, understanding where it's coming from. This is not a stranger on the street that's telling you what you need to fix. This is not somebody that you just met one time at the job, a coworker or whatever, telling you what you need to work on. This is the man that loves you more than anything in this world. This is the man that's taking care of you. This is the man that's showing up for your son or showing up for your daughter or, helping your mom out when she need this or your grandma out when she need that. This is that man, right? But instead of you processing it that way, that this is somebody that loves me, that's saying these things, you process it as if I'm somebody that's trying to attack you, right? And with our friends, that's not.
Ooh, okay. I'll let you take this one.
Yes. So I had a conversation with another military man, and he's married. And, we were talking for about 2 months. And, he was going through some of my coaching. He was also helping me with some things. And he understood certain, like, when we would talk, I didn't have any fucking expectation. I'm not his wife. So when I would talk to him, there was no judgment. Right. And I also have that feminine energy. So it's like, wow, a woman just listening to me and then appreciating me, like, wow, and not taking things personally. Obviously, how could I? But even women that you talk to and they're not even, your wife, just like I wasn't, they have something against, certain experiences men, share with them. Anyway, that's a side note. But basically, his wife came to me and was like, how did you get him to understand something that I've been trying to help him understand for 7 years, but it only took you 2 months for him to understand that. I said, you know why? Because I had no expectations from him. When you don't have any expectations, you simply can love for free. You don't love because you desire an outcome. You don't say something or sit down and listen to your husband because you want some sort of change to see in him. And I think when we start to love someone for free, is when we can truly give them and ourselves the best relationship there could ever possibly be.
Well, I'm also going to say this too, and women can learn to practice this, is why does your femininity turn off when you get angry? Why can't you why can't you still bring your femininity when you're trying to get him to change? Because if you really want a man to change, come at him with femininity instead of judgment. Come at him instead of that, because you see, a lot of women will say, well, why is everything that I wanted him to do, he won't do for me, but he did for the next girl? Why? Probably because of how she came to him. She did something that you didn't do. Yeah, you could have been sleeping with him, you could have did all these things, but she never changed her femininity. Never.
And also, I will say this, if they ask, okay, well then, how does that look practically in terms of how do you be feminine when conflict arises? First of all, you have to regulate your emotions. You cannot be a slave to how you feel. That's the first thing in the world that you need to be actually prioritizing. And after that, it's seeing him in his best version without requiring him to be there in that fucking moment.
Exactly, because what a lot of women don't understand is they switch up their femininity when they get angry. Right? But it's the same thing with men. Like some men who don't understand staying in their masculine all the time switch up from arguing with you. So now he's become a female too, right? Instead of actually staying in his masculine and you stay in your feminine, because I guarantee you that a lot of the times it's not how you ask, it's how you present something. Yeah. Right? So if you're still presenting your femininity in a bit, saying, babe, you know, I really asked you to take the trash out. It helped me out very much. Guarantee you he's more likely to take the trash out compared to if you nag him about taking the trash out.
Even, to be honest with you, I can't even touch the garbage. My husband doesn't even let me touch it. Like, I don't know why you try to do that. So it depends on what kind of man you have also. But I will say that if you want something from him, ask yourself, will I still be able to love him fully if I don't have it? If that's a no, then you haven't chosen a fully developed in your mind man. You've chosen someone you've settled for and then trying to change. And then be a good enough man. But at that point,
exactly. Somebody that you want to serve, right? Because somebody who wants to serve you, you don't have to beg and plead for certain things. They will show up for the ways that you need. Now, what I've noticed is what a lot of women will do, and this is why another reason why you shouldn't listen to women, is because you'll hear some women on the internet saying, man, when he takes out the garbage, it's so sexy, I just want to have sex with him. Or when he does these chores, I just want to have sex with him. So what you're saying is you won't give him sex until he does chores? You won't do until he does any of these things? So now you're using that as a tool to get him to do what you want, instead of saying, as I said, the gentleness approach is the best approach. Now I get it. Some women have been with men where they've tried that. They still don't do what they want them to do. You might I need to reassess and say, oh, sure, guys, you might have picked the wrong man.
Yeah.
Because no man can, especially if it's a woman that he's decided in his mind and his heart that he wants to provide covering for, that he won't cover her in those ways.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like if you met a man and he doesn't want to pay for a date, you're a woman he doesn't want to cover.
That's the fact. Not only that, but I will say this too. You know, I am the face of accountable femininity, which is the, sister, or I guess the subordinate to accountable masculinity. My coach was Victor Vincent, and he's the creator of accountable masculinity. I wanted to caveat all that because it's important to know where that came from. And one of the things I realize is sometimes we think femininity is about being like passive, but it's also being accountable. What that looks like is having courage to say the hard thing and with respect. So you're going
And
to
being
say,
gentle.
right. I mean, sometimes it might not be gentle. Sometimes it's just blunt. But
Yeah, that's fun.
respectful is the gentleness. That's where
But
the
you see,
femininity comes in.
I love what he said though. Like, and again, we're going to talk about this quickly. Women always treat it like it's an attack when a man corrects. When that man loves you, he guides you, he's telling you the hard thing. That's what masculinity does. It does the uncomfortable thing. So if he has to tell you that your behavior might be unruly, if he has to tell you, don't take it personally. If he's just like, babe, look, you know, tonight when we were out with my mom, your behavior was a little unruly.
Yeah.
Don't be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, babe, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to check my behavior.
Right. Right.
It's that simple.
Right. And also, you know, let's say this, sometimes a woman will say something and it's the honest truth. And it will be respectful, but a man takes it personally. And in those moments, you could simply say, soft it, babe, it's not that at all. It's not because of that. And you explain. A lot of women think that they're not obligated to explain or to break it down or to, you know, find a way to say it where that response they're going to get is something they're going to want to experience. I think a lot of women just like, I just want to word vomit. I just want to say what I have to say. Whatever way I say it is their, you know, responsibility. No, communication is communicating. So there's a responsibility you have as well as the other person.
I do agree with you because, guys, even when I had conversations with Ashley Marie, she told me some things that were very uncomfortable for me to hear. But you see, did I lash out? Did I get angry? Did I get frustrated? No, I took time to reflect on what it is she said. You said, you know what? She might be right. And within those things, I was able to grow from that and expand on that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So I took something that was uncomfortable and turned it into ammo because I said, you know what? She's right. She was right about some things. You know what I mean? Like, for example, me stepping out of the dating and relationship coach space, I needed to step out of it. You know what I mean? So by stepping out of it, I actually grew a lot more. Right. And that's because of something that she said that was uncomfortable. She also told me something uncomfortable that she said, hey, we need to stop dabbling in the gray. It's black or white. There's no in between. And I'm like, well, there's exceptions to the rule. Well, okay, if we start making everything an exception to the rule, we're going to get nowhere.
I love that. I got to take that with me. If we keep making things exceptions, we're never going to get anywhere.
We're never going to get anywhere. Right. So that's what I was doing all the time. Oh, this is an exception. This person. No. It's either black or white.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, it didn't even take us much time. Like we had, I don't know, maybe two conversations, and then after that, it just kind of flowed. And that's also another thing, in terms of why I created my fast track to marriage. It's a 30-day process. It's not a whole 6 months. You don't have any semantics. I'm not teaching shit. Really, I'm just helping empower who you already have always been. And remembering that man is what I help you do.
See, and I love that you said that because it's not about us getting anything. It's not about you getting femininity. It's not about you getting masculine. It's about you building it up.
Yeah.
Because for some people, I'll admit, some women have been in some shitty situations where the femininity has been dialed down to like 2. Yeah. You know what I mean? And some men, it's been dialed down to 2. And they're afraid to turn it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But why are you afraid to turn it up if it's who you are?
Yes.
Yeah, you might have had some bad experiences, but those experiences you should never have to dial yourself down to 2. You should always say, you know what? It happened. I'm on 10. I learned from it. Because again, just like women don't want soft men, men don't want unruly women. And nobody likes to talk about what men don't want. But think about it. If you want to get in a relationship with a man, you need to know what he doesn't like.
Right. As well, men are the gatekeepers to relationships and commitment. And that's what I was telling you. It doesn't matter what your relationship status is. A man can teach a woman, lead a woman, direct a woman, as long as he's in his masculinity. Whether that's teach her about relationships or teach her about fucking insects. He can teach her whatever he fucking wants. You know?
I'm glad that you said that because Again, this is one of those conversations that women don't like, knowing that men have the power to grant them a relationship. They don't like that. But I always try to tell women, do you want to get on one knee?
Do you want to
And
be
their face always just
they don't want to be the
face
one
always just goes no. So I'm like, of course not. If he's the one who gives the relationship, right? You kind of have to respect it. Now, if you don't want a relationship from him, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if it's from a man that you want a relationship from, just like as the woman said, Jade Bell, her sister, said, you're going to have to get in line.
Yeah.
You don't get to change the structure. It's like me joining the army and they already have the structure. And I say, well, I don't want to do 10 push-ups. I don't want to run the lap. And I don't want to do any of this stuff. But I want the benefit of being in the army. So what you're saying is you want the benefits of being in a relationship with this man without following any rules or instructions.
Of what that would entail being with him.
How does that make any sense?
It is insane. And I'm really glad that we got a chance to have this conversation, because it's like we're taking our DMs out and then like putting it into the world, because we talk like really about some amazing things. And, you know, if you want to find Michael White, you know, he's streaming on his Facebook. Feel free to DM him. I'm Ashley Marie again. If you would love to come on a live, if you'd love to have an interview with me, feel free to DM me as well. And yeah, I guess.
Please, guys. So look, reach out to her. You know, her social media is tagged in there. You can reach out to the sniper. You saw us share some of his stuff. Because at the end of the day, us as coaches, our responsibility is to help you tap into yourself.
Yes.
That's what we're here to do. We're not here to help you get anything because you already have it all. We're here to help you into it. Because that's the thing. A lot of the times with a lot of these coaches, they're trying to help you get things. But if you're trying to get something, that means that you're not full.
Right. That you don't have it in essence.
That you don't have it.
Right.
Right? But it's like you already have everything you need. You need to tap into what you have.
Yes. I love that.
So if we can teach you how to do that, then that's fine. That is perfect.
That's exactly
right. You're not less of a man. You're not less of a woman. There's just certain characteristic traits and habits that you might be practicing that are not giving you the outcomes you want.
Yes. Oh my God. I love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you again